Direct News TV. June 3, 2024. Israel's war on Gaza live, Jabalia, Beit Hanoon declared disaster zones. More than 1 million people forcefully displaced from Rafah, as Israeli forces killed 22 people in overnight attacks across Gaza. Doubts grow over the latest truce proposal after Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and PM Benjamin Netanyahu, who are facing potential arrest warrant from the ICC, cast doubt on the US-backed proposal. Hamas spokesperson Osama Hamdan has welcomed the truce plan but told Al Jazeera on Sunday that the group is yet to receive any written documents. Israel's Supreme Court considers petitions against closure of Al Jazeera's office. Israel's Supreme Court is considering petitions against the closure of Al Jazeera's office in the country in early May, according to Israeli Army radio. The report quoted one of the judges as saying, "There is no doubt that there is a violation of freedom of expression here. Repeal of a law cannot be based on anecdotal claims, but on things inherent in the law," said another judge, referring to the accusations of incitement that led to the closure of Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera Media Network has condemned the Israeli government's decision to close its operations in Israel as a criminal act and warned that the country's suppression of the free press stands in contravention of international and humanitarian law. Zionist regime gradually melts down, says Iran's supreme leader. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Israel is melting down due to its war on Gaza. Today, the Zionist regime gradually melts down before eyes of the world's people, Khomeini said at a ceremony marking the 35th anniversary of the late leader of the county, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. In his nearly 55-minute speech, Khomeini said Israel's response to the October 7 Hamas-led attack, which began the war, placed it in a dead-end corridor. He added the war had derailed Israel's US-backed efforts for normalization, which he characterized as part of an Israeli plot to dominate the region. More than 9,000 Palestinians arrested in West Bank since October 7. Israeli forces have apprehended more than 9,000 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since the Gaza war began, according to the Palestinian Prisoners Society, an arrest campaign it says has occurred at an unprecedented pace. The latest arrests included 20 Palestinians rounded up in raids since last night, said the group. At least 12 were taken from several towns in Hebron Governorate, reports the Wafa news agency. More than 1 million Palestinians forcefully displaced from Rafah, UNRWA. Forced displacement has pushed more than 1 million people away from the Gazan city of Rafah, which was meant to be a safe zone, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, says. More than 1.4 million Palestinians were sheltering in Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city near the border with Egypt, before Israel launched an offensive on May 7. Most of them had fled to Rafah from other parts of Gaza, which were bombed by Israel. Egypt rejects Israeli presence at Rafah crossing. Egypt is clear on rejecting an Israeli presence at the Rafah border crossing between Egypt's Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip, Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry says. It is difficult for the Rafah crossing to continue operating without a Palestinian administration, he said in a news conference with his Spanish counterpart in Madrid. Another Palestinian killed in Gaza City. An Israeli attack in the center of Gaza City's Zaytown neighborhood has killed one person and injured others, report our colleagues on the ground. The report comes after an earlier attack in Gaza City's Sabra neighborhood killed at least 4 people. We'll bring you more information on this latest wave of attacks as we have it. 3,500 children in Gaza at risk of starvation, Government Media Office. Gaza's Government Media Office warns that more than 3,500 children under the age of 5 are at risk of dying due to shortages of food, nutritional supplements, and vaccinations. These children are experiencing severe malnutrition, harming their physical development and making them vulnerable to infectious diseases, said the media office in a statement. Their conditions are getting worse and more difficult as they are deprived of the vaccinations and medication doses allocated to them, it said. Since Israel took over the Rafah border crossing with Egypt on May 7, aid flow to Gaza has dropped by 67%, reported the UN last week, making already scarce supplies of food and medicine even harder to come by. Gallant to U.S., Hamas rule of Gaza must end. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant restated his government's commitment to dismantling Hamas as a governing and military authority in the framework of any deal to wind down the Gaza war. His office quoted him as telling the top U.S. diplomat. In the call with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Gallant also discussed the issue of identifying and enabling the emergence of a local, governing alternative to the Hamas armed group, the Defense Ministry statement said. Israel's military strategy not working in Gaza, expert Omar Ashur, of the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies, says Israel's military strategy is to reoccupy parts of Gaza, including a 1 kilometer, (0.62 miles), wide buffer zone between Gaza and Israel, the Netzarim corridor, which divides Gaza into northern and southern sections, and positions along the Salah al-Din Street to divide Gaza into east and west. It also wants to refortify them to make strong positions and then carry out intelligence-led raids that aim to degrade and destroy Hamas cells and other military formations, he told Al Jazeera. Then after that, when forces get tired, redeploy and continue and repeat again. But this is not working, as we saw in Jabalia refugee camp. This military strategy created more and more civilian deaths, leading to more international pressure on the Netanyahu government. Ashur also said that the Israeli military has probably not achieved its military objectives in Rafah as well. Israel probes soldiers in death of dozens of Gaza Palestinians, report. The Israeli army has launched a criminal investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of 48 Palestinians from Gaza, most of whom were in Israeli custody, according to the Haaretz newspaper. The vast majority of the Palestinians died in or en route to Israeli detention centers, while 7 died in Gaza, according to the Haaretz report. None of the Israeli soldiers implicated in the case has yet been arrested or indicted, military sources told Haaretz. At the beginning of the Gaza war, Israeli forces had detained about 4,000 Palestinians from Gaza for questioning, according to official figures, almost half of whom are still being held under permanent detention orders, the Daily reported. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.